Nestled in a serene valley at the foot of majestic mountains, there was a small village where life was simple, but the skies above were extraordinary. In this village lived a young girl named Alina. From the moment she learned to walk, Alina was captivated by the stars. Every night, she would sit beneath the vast sky, her eyes tracing the constellations, wondering about the mysteries they held. But more than their distant glow, she often pondered a question that lingered in her heart: what is my own light, and how can it shine in this world? Alina was not like the other children in her village. She possessed a rare gift. She could hear the whispers of nature and feel the emotions of others: joy, sorrow, fear. The wind carried messages to her, the trees sang melodies only she could understand, and the ground beneath her feet thrummed with a gentle pulse. But instead of celebrating her gift, the villagers misunderstood her. They saw her sensitivity as a sign of strangeness, calling her the odd one. Hurt by their words, Alina withdrew from the bustling marketplace and noisy gatherings, choosing instead to spend her time in the quiet company of birds, trees, and the silent moon. One evening, as the sun set and painted the sky in hues of gold and violet, the village was visited by a stranger. He was an old man draped in a cloak of deep blue, his silver hair catching the light like strands of starlight. On his back was a simple lyre, weathered with age but emitting a faint, enchanting glow. The villagers watched him with suspicion, their whispers carried on the breeze, but Alina felt something different, a pull, as if the stars themselves had sent him. When the stranger's eyes met hers, they softened, and he smiled knowingly, as though he could see the questions storming inside her. "You," he said in a voice both gentle and commanding, "carry a light unlike any other, but it remains hidden, waiting for you to find it." Alina's heart fluttered. "What do you mean?" she asked. He knelt beside her, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The stars you gaze at every night are not just distant lights. They are mirrors, reflecting the light within each of us. But few are brave enough to let their light shine. You must discover yours." "How?" Alina pressed, her voice trembling with a mixture of fear and excitement. The old man pointed toward the towering mountains. "Climb to the highest peak. It is a long and difficult journey, but only there will you find the answers you seek." The next morning, Alina prepared for her journey. The villagers tried to dissuade her. "It's too dangerous," they said. "The mountains are treacherous and unforgiving." But Alina felt a pull stronger than her fear, an unshakable belief that this journey was meant for her. The climb was arduous. The path twisted and turned, each step testing her resolve. The first day, she faced biting winds that howled through the trees. By the second day, the trail grew steeper, and loose rocks slid beneath her feet, leaving her bruised and battered. Her hands bled, and her legs ached, but each time she faltered, she remembered the old man's words, "Your light is waiting." On the third day, she encountered a narrow ledge with a sheer drop on either side. Fear gripped her as the abyss below seemed to beckon, but she took a deep breath and steadied herself. One step at a time. She whispered to herself, moving forward despite the shaking of her legs and the pounding of her heart. At last, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Alina reached the summit. Exhausted, she collapsed onto the cold, hard ground, her breaths ragged. Above her, the stars seemed closer than ever, their light so brilliant it felt almost within reach. In the stillness of the night, a warmth began to bloom in her chest. It started as a flicker and then grew into a radiant glow. Tears welled in her eyes as she realized the truth. The light she had been searching for was not in the stars or on the mountaintop, it had been within her all along. The wind whispered around her, carrying the old man's words once more, "Few are brave enough to let their light shine." Alina now understood. Her empathy, her sensitivity, her courage, these were her light. They were not weaknesses to be hidden but strengths to be embraced. With her newfound clarity, Alina descended the mountain. The journey down was no less challenging, but her heart was light. She carried within her the knowledge that she was enough, just as she was. When she returned to the village, she was met with astonished gazes. She was no longer the quiet, withdrawn girl they had known. Instead, she radiated a quiet confidence and an undeniable warmth. Rather than retreating into herself, Alina began to share her gift with others. She listened to their sorrows, celebrated their joys, and helped them see the beauty in their own hearts. Slowly, the villagers' perception of her changed, but more importantly, Alina's perception of herself had transformed. As the years passed, Alina became a guide for many. People from nearby villages came to her, seeking advice and solace. She taught them what the old man had taught her, that the greatest light is not in the stars or the skies but within each of us, waiting to be discovered. And though the stars continued to shine brilliantly above her village, no light was as bright as the one Alina had found within herself. Tucked into a peaceful valley at the foot of towering, snow-capped mountains lay a small, unassuming village. The villagers led quiet, predictable lives, governed by the cycles of the sun and seasons. But above their humble homes stretched a vast and endless sky, where stars gleamed like jewels scattered across black velvet. In this village lived a young girl named Alina. From the moment she could walk, Alina had always felt an unexplainable connection to the stars. While other children played games in the fields or helped with chores, she would slip away as the sun dipped below the horizon. Night after night, she would sit alone on a hillside, her face turned toward the heavens, her thoughts lost in wonder. What are they made of? She often mused. Why do they shine so brightly? But more than anything, Alina asked herself, do I have a light like theirs? Where does it hide, and how do I make it shine? Alina was different, and the villagers knew it. She had a peculiar ability to feel the emotions of those around her as if they were her own. When someone was joyful, her heart swelled with happiness. When another was sad, she felt a heavy ache in her chest. But instead of celebrating this rare gift, the villagers viewed it with suspicion. Why does she act so strangely? They whispered among themselves. Why does she avoid us and prefer to wander the woods alone? Alina was hurt by their words. She withdrew further, finding solace only in the company of nature. The birds did not judge her, the trees offered silent companionship, and the gentle hum of the earth beneath her feet seemed to say, "You belong here." But even in these comforting moments, the question still lingered, why am I so different? What is my purpose? One fateful evening, as twilight painted the village in hues of purple and gold, an unfamiliar figure arrived. He was an old man, cloaked in a flowing robe of deep blue that shimmered faintly, as if woven with threads of starlight. On his back was a lyre, its wood worn smooth by time but adorned with intricate carvings of constellations. The villagers gathered cautiously at a distance, murmuring among themselves. Who was this stranger, and what did he want? Yet, despite their unease, there was something undeniably magnetic about him. His eyes, deep and twinkling like the night sky, radiated warmth and wisdom. Alina, who had been watching from the edge of the crowd, felt her heart stir. She couldn't explain it, but she felt as though the stars themselves had sent this man. The old man turned toward her, his gaze steady. "You," he said, his voice soft yet commanding, "carry a light that is waiting to shine. But you have yet to discover it." Startled, Alina stepped closer. "What do you mean? How do I find it?" The man smiled, his expression both kind and enigmatic. "The stars you gaze at every night are not just distant lights," he said. "They are mirrors, reflecting the light within each of us. But few are brave enough to let their light shine. If you wish to find yours, you must take a journey to the highest peak, where the light of the world converges. There, you will find the answers you seek." That night, Alina lay awake, staring at the stars. She felt a mixture of fear and excitement. Climbing the mountain was a daunting task. The villagers had long warned of its dangers: sheer cliffs, unpredictable weather, and wild animals. Yet, deep in her heart, she knew she could not ignore the old man's words. At dawn, she packed a small bundle of food and a water skin. The villagers tried to stop her. "Don't go," they cried. "You'll never survive." But Alina had already made up her mind. As she took her first steps toward the mountain, she felt a strange mix of emotions: fear of the unknown, but also a growing sense of determination. The journey was far more grueling than Alina had anticipated. The first day, she faced icy winds that bit through her thin cloak. The path wound steeply upward, and loose rocks slid beneath her feet. By nightfall, her legs ached, and her hands were raw from gripping jagged stones. On the second day, the trail narrowed dangerously, with sheer drops on either side. Hunger gnawed at her, and exhaustion clouded her mind. At one point, she slipped, tumbling onto a rocky ledge below. For a moment, she lay there, bruised and battered, tears streaming down her face. "Why am I doing this?" she whispered into the cold air. But then she remembered the old man's words, "Your light is waiting." She picked herself up and pressed on. On the third day, the weather turned treacherous. Storm clouds gathered, and rain lashed against her skin. As she reached a precarious bridge of wood and rope swaying over a deep gorge, fear froze her in place. The abyss below seemed endless, and the wind threatened to tear her from the bridge. But then, from somewhere deep within, a voice spoke, "Trust yourself." Taking a deep breath, she stepped onto the bridge. One step. Then another. Slowly, steadily, she crossed. At last, as the first rays of dawn broke over the horizon, Alina reached the summit. The world below stretched out in endless beauty, and the stars above seemed closer than ever, their light almost tangible. She stood there, trembling with exhaustion and awe, waiting for some grand revelation, a blazing light, a celestial voice. But nothing happened. Silence enveloped her. Confused and disheartened, Alina sank to her knees. "Where is my light?" she whispered. And then, in the stillness, she felt it, a warmth blooming in her chest. It started as a faint flicker and grew into a radiant glow, filling her with a profound sense of peace. The truth was clear, the light I'd been searching for was never in the stars or the mountaintop. It has been inside me all along. Her empathy, her courage, her resilience, these were her light. They were not burdens but gifts, waiting to be embraced. When Alina descended the mountain, she was no longer the quiet, self-doubting girl the villagers had known. She radiated confidence, her steps steady and purposeful. The villagers, astonished by her transformation, gathered around her. She shared her story, not of finding light in the stars but of discovering it within herself. From that day on, Alina became a guide, helping others uncover their inner light. She taught them that the journey to self-discovery is not about seeking something external but about realizing the beauty and strength already within. As the years passed, Alina's village became known as a place where people came to find hope and clarity. Travelers spoke of a young woman who had climbed the highest peak and returned with a light so bright it could warm even the coldest hearts, and though the stars continued to shine brilliantly above the village, none were as luminous as the light Alina had found within herself, a light that now illuminated the lives of others.